approve the development agreement between 8701 Collins Avenue LLC. This is a public hearing, and just for the record, there is one individual who has signed up to speak.
Okay.
Kirk Pascal.
Okay.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Okay.
Hello. First of all, I've been a North Beach resident for 14 years. Is it open for me yet?
Yeah. Your name.
Kirk Pascal. I've been a North Beach resident for 14 years, own a property there and live there. I want to thank all of you for all of your emphasis on North Beach. I think one of the greatest components that's come out of the emphasis on North Beach has been the community engagement. As part of that, at the Blue Ribbon panel meetings, the Terra Group came on several occasions and presented their plan to renovate the Biltmore Terrace, which is a 1951 building designed by Morris Lapidus, Melvin Grossman, and Albert Ennis. And it's also the only Morris Lapidus hotel in North Beach. So when the Terra Group came and asked for community support, obviously there's one thing we all appreciate in North Beach. It's the MiMo character that defines our community. And while I personally wasn't ecstatic that they were asking for a height increase and to have a 20-story tower hovering over our park, I think we all felt that it was worthwhile in order to not only have that MiMo landmark renovated, but also to have the hotel use and the economic and cultural vibrancy that hotels bring to the community. So I was very disheartened to hear at the last Blue Ribbon panel that the Terra Group had changed their minds and were planning on demolishing that hotel. Our neighborhood association sent a resolution, which I forwarded to all of you last week. And I think this not only threatens to undermine and exploit all of the community involvement that we've been working so hard to build over the last year, it undermines the community confidence in what we've been trying to achieve. And the bottom line is we lose a Morris Lapidus hotel, which under no circumstances do I feel that that serves the North Beach community. So I'm asking if you could refer this back to the Land Use Committee until such time as the Terra Group is willing to commit to those concessions which they promised to the community, which were renovating that Morris Lapidus hotel and operating as a hotel in order to be able to build their condominium tower to the north of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy, you want to come up?
I couldn't have said it better than Kirk, but I cannot understand how today I believe you're being asked to sign a development agreement which will finalize and allow whatever they do. It just doesn't seem fair to the North Beach community. I've heard from many of them. They were thrilled that the hotel was going to be kept and restored. You as a commission have already allowed a height change, quite a big height change, the abandonment or the easement of the roadway. Yes, they're going to give you money, or they're going to restore the walkways or whatever they're going to do. But I think that they should commit to what they're really doing and allow other people. I know there's other people from North Beach here. It just doesn't seem fair to the public to just sign off and let them do whatever they want with all the perks you've given them.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
You know, I got to tell you, I went to the opening of the Shelbourne last night. Commissioner Grieco was with me, Commissioner Malikoff, and they did such an incredible job renovating that hotel, Russell Galbert and Crescent Heights, and I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, they didn't think about tearing down their property. They made it spectacular. And I mean, I was always under the impression that part of this deal was that that hotel was going to be renovated. I'm just not so sure at the last minute how in the world we ended up where the hotel's being demolished, kind of like a curveball. And we're working to move forward with some type of historic designation of an architecturally significant MiMo design. Why are we allowing this great hotel to all of a sudden be taken down like at the last minute? And
Where does this issue,
you know, well, I think it's part of the development agreement. We're asked to approve the development agreement now, and Mr. Turner, I ask you, what does that mean?
Well, Mayor, if we approve the development agreement, this question was asked on first reading. The development agreement contains no affirmative provision which would require them to maintain the existing diesel structure. Now, this commission can discuss this, and if this commission decides that it wants to put a clause in there, then I would need to hear from the developer as to what the impact to the project would be.
Right.
But I know we have put those affirmative conditions on prior occasions, but right now, I just want to let everybody know that
Not part of the deal.
there is nothing that requires them to
Was the
preserve this
community-
hotel.
When they went through the whole community process, because I was under the understanding that hotel was being renovated. When we made this deal, the 10.5 million, it was because that hotel was being renovated and getting all these various things, and I was under no circumstance did I ever hear that the hotel was being torn down. Maybe I heard a different deal.
Well, you are correct, Mayor, that the design changed throughout the process. There was an initial design that the developer went with, which contemplated preserving the existing structure, and then I believe a new architect may have been designed, may have been retained, Renzo Piano, and the new design does not. Either way, but it doesn't contemplate preserving the existing structure. So their design did change during the course of the development of this project, and it is still subject to design review as it goes forward.
Right.
It does state in the ordinance that it can be as a hotel and/or residential condominium site, which gives them the option for destroying the hotel.
And do you all feel that you want to give them that option? I mean,
Well-
knowing that we want to preserve.
Well, I have asked the question in full disclosure to keep this commission informed, and they reserve the right to demolish the hotel. So there is no, unless we impose a duty on them to keep it as part of our approval of this development agreement, there is no duty on their part to retain it.
Right, right. Or maybe we just change the 10.5, we go back to the drawing board,
Right.
We have maybe we tear it down, but it's 20 million,
Right.
and we use that money to protect other MiMo properties. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's part of the character and the design of what we're trying to do up there.
Right. Well, remember, the vacation of the 87th Street, of the 87th Terrace Street end is one of the reasons that it's important to them is that upon the vacation of that easement, they get the benefit of 36,400 square feet
Right, that
of
was part of the deal.
additional
So you keep
FAR.
the hotel, and then you get this, and
Right.
we get 10.5 million, and
Right.
otherwise it would be 25 million, and you get to tear down the hotel, and everything changes.
Right. So the question is, do we want to put something in the development agreement requiring them to preserve that structure? And the second part of that question is, I don't think that we can require that without hearing from them.
Of course, of course. Okay, Commissioner.
I was under the impression at the last hearing when we talked about Renzo Piano that because everybody was talking about Renzo Piano that we were all under the impression that it was going to be a tear down in this instance. So I'm not taken aback by that. And so you've got a North Beach corridor that badly needs the development. I to me think that at the end of the day, what this Renzo Piano is going to design is going to be way prettier than the current structure. I mean, you can MiMo, talk about MiMo all day long. What I see is a dog. And I mean, I know that sounds offensive, but it really, let's just be blunt about it. It's a very 70s style older building that if this person who's putting hundreds and hundreds of $1 million into the North Beach corridor has one of the top architects in the world coming in, why wouldn't we embrace it and create a new architectural wonder? It's what you're going to do. You're going to create a new architectural wonder that is a beautiful, beautiful item that perhaps people from all around the world, when they do architectural tours and they come see the Zaha Hadid items and they come see the Frank Gehry garage, they'll come see the Renzo Piano building up in North Beach. I wouldn't limit this guy's artistic.
No, and I understand. I know Renzo Piano, and I think he's amazing. I met him, and saw what he did the LACMA in Los Angeles. I was there at the opening party, but I was under the impression that Renzo Piano was going to use his artistic abilities and skills to not only renovate this hotel, but build an additional Renzo Piano tower next to it. So you're creating new and preserving old. So it's a combination of both.
I think you're unduly restricting the guide by saying you've got to build a 1907. You got to take this existing MiMo structure and then build something next to it. You could end up with like Soldier Field, you know, where you've got a spaceship sitting in the middle of this beautiful columned structure. It just doesn't. I wouldn't restrict the gentleman.
Let me ask other commissioners here. I mean, Commissioner Malakoff, are you? I mean, how are
I have mixed feelings. I do not believe that the Deeserland Hotel was one of the better hotels designed by Morris Lapidus. I think it was changed a lot over time. It doesn't look the way it looked when it was first built, as I think it was called the Biscayne or something. I feel that a lot of modifications have been made to it that didn't help at all. But it wasn't one of Morris Lapidus's finest designs to start with.
Mayor, this is not about a dog. He's calling it a dog. It's not about whether it was the best or the worst. There are a lot of not the best and partial dogs in historic districts. The question here is, you have given that developer a street, you have given him...
We got 10.5 million. That's just inaccurate. We haven't given
We don't
anything.
understand why that was not even voted on by the public. It wasn't a public hearing. Who knew that that street, it's all given away, and it was given away on the basis of what was presented by Alan Schulman.
That's just...
And nobody
You're lying
ever
to us.
knows.
You're lying because it
No,
wasn't
I don't
given away.
lie.
It was
I don't
10.5
lie.
million. It was 10.5 million, so you're just not telling the
Oh,
truth.
10.5 million, that's fine, but it was
No, but, I
not
mean,
on
the
the
public
basis
should
of
know that you're not telling the
demolishing,
truth.
and I
The
don't
public
like
should
to
know that
fight
you're
with
not
you,
telling the
Jonah,
truth.
in public. If you had meetings with the public,
I
perhaps
just
we
don't
could
prefer
discuss
to meet
this.
with you.
I know you don't have.
It's just you.
Oh, it's just me. Well, maybe. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think
Go ahead,
you're
Chrissy.
making a giant mistake, and the people of North Beach will remember this.
Right, thank you. So Commissioner Malakoff, you didn't finish, so you're torn.
I'm torn. I think
Okay.
that Renzo Piano is a fabulous architect. I welcome him to the community. Then again, it is true, when the developer first came, he was preserving this
So would you
hotel
like to see
as
the
a hotel.
best of both worlds?
I would like to see the best of both worlds, yes.
Commissioner Whitehorn?
I think we would all like to see the best of both worlds. What's hard here, and I'm kind of where, Commissioner Malakoff is that if this were a historic structure in the context of a greater area, I'd say yes, but it's kind of all by itself at the end of the beach, and so that's what makes this very difficult, because it's the first thing people see, and what they're seeing now, I would certainly like it to be a lot better than it is today. I won't call it a dog, but it has a big potential for improvement. And so I'd like to see that improvement. So that's kind of where, I am. So yeah, I would love to see us get the best of both worlds, but I think it's more important that we have the right statement as you get to Miami Beach from the north side.
So it could be a renovated building and a beautiful tower
But that's
by
not up
Renzo
to us,
Piano.
that's up
Okay, all right, hold on, Commissioner, let's let everyone else.
Yeah, fine.
Commissioner Tobin, you have something?
I didn't realize that we were going to be discussing the, whether we...
We're finalizing development agreements, that's why.
So, when I came up with our number, we started out at 5 million, and then we went to 10.5, and part of the reason why we did 10.5 is the developer said, hey, listen, my economic value on my property is such, I'm keeping a hotel, and,
Right.
and then after we voted, in fairness, and in full disclosure, the attorney for the developer said, hey, I just want you to know, and this was probably 2 or 3 months ago, and I appreciated him being so honest and straightforward, we may want to tear down the building now to do something else. But when you said my number would change because their development is changing, I'm okay with that. I haven't walked the site to look at the building to see whether or not I think
So you'd like to, you basically, if the building's being torn down, you'd like to reopen the negotiation potentially for more money?
I would.
Okay.
And I'd like to go out to the property. I'm not an expert in architectural significance in any way, but
Yeah.
when I've gone out to different things with,
Right.
like Jeff Donnelly will walk me around, I'll
Right.
start to sort of appreciate things that I didn't really see.
Of course.
But,
Thank
you know, whatever you...
Commissioner Steinberg, what are your thoughts?
I'm conflicted.
Right.
I agree a lot with what Commissioner Malakoff and Commissioner Whitehorn had said. You know, I have been very much in favor of preserving most of our city. You know, I've always been showing that I believe in preservation and things that are architecturally significant should be preserved. In this instance, being, as Commissioner Whitehorn pointed out, at the corner of the entranceway, without anything else surrounding it, you know, I'm very conflicted. I know
Say it again.
it's a tough, you know, I'm very conflicted, and I'd like to hear more from, I know it's from the public and other people who are here to speak on this.
Right. I mean, we have a couple of things. We could move forward with the vote. I have a feeling that this may be a challenging one. Or we could, you know,
I think we just, I'll move the item and see
Could
if I
we,
have a
could
second.
we have some more public comment?
please.
I don't know.
I was, yeah, I mean,
But
the gentleman.
Are
the
you
gen-
both, are you both in favor of maintaining the building?
I mean, I would like to hear from
I have
Clotilde.
reasons for, I think, the question of transparency and when
Right.
the disclosure was made to you and to the
Right.
public.
Please, go ahead.
Well, okay, then I will start out by saying, Clotilde, I think you were going to talk first, but they're jumping on me. Okay, before I moved to Miami Beach, I was involved in putting on 2 art shows. But by far, the most exciting art show I was ever involved in was doing this in New York in 2002. The word MiMo, I hope you all are paying attention, was very new to everyone. And we were a small curatorial committee. The people who came up with the term MiMo were part of the curatorial committee. We got a lot of press. This was in New York, right after 9/11. This was the most joyous thing that they had seen in New York, and the MiMo image was so powerful. Now, the 4 buildings that got a lot of attention in the press then were, of course, the Fontainebleau and the Giller Bandshell, which, as you know, has looked kind of run down. You could say it's kind of a dog. It was looking kind of run down recently. It just doesn't look so run down anymore, does it? It's being used. And you will be amused to hear that the 2 other buildings that got a lot of interest back then in the press in New York, Vogue, Time Out, so forth, New York Times, were the Vagabond. Have we heard any buzz about the Vagabond in recent times over there? That looked like a dog for a long time, didn't it? Look at how trendy that is. Look at the buzz around that thing. And the other one that got a lot of press was this. This is the Dieselland. Now, the gentleman who invited us to put on that show at the Municipal Art Society, that is the society that saved Grand Central, okay? We had our show on Madison Avenue. Lorinda Spear, Architectona, gave us the free panels, and this stuff was, people loved it. Even if you're not erudite about architecture, they totally get it. This is something we have that other people don't have. This is our brand. The gentleman who put on that show for us, he now is at the World Monuments Fund. The one photo, are you listening? The one photo he took away from that show that he has at his office is at the World Monuments Fund in the Empire State Building today is this photo. This is the Dieselland. So, like the Vagabond, there is potential. Okay? Am I holding it upside down?
No, he's just saying, I guess, he's being funny that it doesn't look like a building. It looks like,
Well,
I'm listening to, I am.
yeah. So anyway, it's like the Vagabond, there is potential here if you have a creative developer. We don't always get creative developers. The other thing I'm very concerned about, I was happy to hear you all talking about the parking fees earlier. This is transparency and disclosure. You gave them extra height. It's time now to hold out for extra standards, higher standards, not just height. When was it made disclosed to everyone that they were not going to retain the historic building? That is a very unfair process, to ask you for one thing based on an understanding and then do a 180-degree very late in the process. Do we care about transparency? Do we care about ethics? Do we care about disclosure? You have been, I'm sorry, you gave them something, and you should hold out for what was understood.
Thank you very much. Sir, please.
Paul Mocha from 95 South Shore Drive. I'm the president of the Fairway Park Neighborhood Association. We met with the Terra Group several months ago. They did an hour-and-a-half presentation to our residents about what they wanted to do and asking our support to increase the height. We thought that the renovation of the hotel, which obviously, as we know, is a historic building, but also very important to North Beach of having more hotel space, the investment in open space park, and also they talked about helping with the grand entrance to North Beach on 87th and Harding, which we've talked about before. Our association gave our support to them, and now to find out that they have decided they want to tear down the building, just our neighborhood can't believe it. It was completely misleading, and they've lost our trust, and we are the public who live there. And so I would ask that any development agreement that the commission agrees to would have conditions of retaining the hotel and or making sure that a hotel does exist on the property when it's completed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jeff, before you go,
And I'd like to speak after
I haven't said anything. Somebody fill me in, and Tom, maybe you can help me out. We're talking about a development agreement. If the developer decided to say, you know what, I don't want to do this, I don't want the easement, I'm not going to write my $10 million check for the park, is there anything that prevents them from knocking down the hotel tomorrow?
No,
Okay, and why is that?
because it's not part of a designated historic site or an historic district.
When was it built?
It's built in, I believe, the early 50s, yeah, 51.
Early 50s. And when they say it's a Morris Lapidus building, is it a Morris Lapidus building or is it a Morris Lapidus lobby?
Albert Annis designed the exterior of the building and Morris Lapidus designed the lobby.
Okay, and is the lobby that Morris Lapidus built the same lobby that's there now?
It's been modified. There are some original elements. We would have to do a more significant study of the interior to determine for sure.
Okay, I'm just asking questions because it's not like we're giving them permission to or revoking permission to do anything. They have, as a matter of right, the ability to knock down the hotel tomorrow if they decide to withdraw from negotiations and they don't want our easement anymore.
Yes.
Quick question to Commissioner Grego.
With one
Sorry to-
exception,
sorry to
Commissioner
interrupt.
Grego.
What's the exception?
Their project depends on the additional FAR that they
Right,
are
I-
gaining by vacation of that street.
I understand, but I'm sure that, listen, I'm not a developer, but I can do some math, and if they get to keep their $10 million, and of the FAR that we're talking about, how much of it is actually sellable?
Right.
It's a little bit of a wash.
I don't know about that. I don't know
but-
whether they would develop
Commissioner
this
Grego, real
project
quick,
without
I'll
the
let you
additional
continue.
FAR.
Real quick, Tom, if we wanted to move forward and historically designate and get that building in the zone, how fast could we do that?
It would be a referral to the Historic Preservation Board, and if they wanted to expedite a hearing with a 5-day notice, we could potentially have zoning in progress.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner
Yeah, listen, I'm asking questions
thank
here
you.
because I'm getting information from both sides, and kind of with me, the buck stops with you, and I want to be as informed as possible. So, all right, thank you. That's all I had. So, I interrupted.
Mr. Mayor?
I know that.
Commissioner,
With respect to what Clotilde says, because I listened to her and I respect Ms. Luce, one of the points that she made that seems at first blush like a good point, but I wanted to explain why I disagree with it, is that we were in some sort of a negotiation and that there was something held out that was part of the project, and that they're changing it in some way. As far as I'm concerned, that the preservation of that structure is not necessarily a benefit to the North Beach community. In fact, I think that if you go outside of some of the group that's here today speaking today, and you talk to the general public and you show them before and after photos of what this hotel and condominium would look like after they're done developing it, people would say, wow, that's amazing, and the architect is world-renowned, and that's beautiful. But to suggest that retaining this structure is in some way some sort of benefit that we should extract more money from them for, I don't think that that's the case. And it comes from a value difference, a value perspective. Some people may put a lot of value in restoring that and in preserving that structure, and other people may not. I think North Beach now needs an iconic new building in that area. I don't necessarily think that preserving a structure that has those lines is something that we should do. In any event, I'll go ahead and move the item, move the development agreement. If I have a second, we can vote on it.
I'll second it.
So there was a second. Mr. Mayor, procedurally, there was a second.
But hold on,
Right,
let
I-
Commissioner Grieco.
Okay,
the
I
second was
am
made.
going to second it. I did want to hear from Mr. Burkow, because there was one other question that I had. If the hotel were to remain, tell me about the economics of the hotel. Have you looked into?
We have.
Okay, please.
So thank you, Commissioner Grieco, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Jeff Burkow with the law firm of Burkow, Riddell, and Fernandez, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard in Miami. The issue before you today, and obviously here on behalf of 8701 Collins Development, the issue before you today is should the development agreement be approved and not project design. That's not part of the development agreement, but we want to address the concerns that have been raised at this meeting. Our development team made a very serious and expensive effort to preserve the existing building. Our team has been transparent, and we have kept the community and the city involved every step of the way. I'm sure each of you can recall repeated meetings that we had with you almost on a weekly basis to keep you informed of this project's progress. We are proposing a viable project that satisfies all of the articulated concerns that we've heard from stakeholders, city staff, and the Commission. We are creating a public benefit. We are respecting the spacing from the adjoining structure to the north, and we are creating a signature North Beach gateway. The existing structure is not designated historic, and it is not in a historic district. In fact, Morris Lapidus, later in his life, said that the building no longer contains the architectural integrity that merits its preservation. Regardless of that, though, this developer decided to explore the possibility of preserving the structure. He did it in a very major way by hiring architects, lawyers, engineers, marketers, and real estate hotel specialists. And after spending over a year and over $1 million, we found out that the luxury flags, the luxury hotels that we were trying to attract to this building would not accept it with the existing limitations that the building imposed. Now, I know your time is limited this morning. We've prepared a handout. This handout documents not only the terrible structure of the building.
Are you going to have a hotel? Are you going to knock it down and then have a hotel there as well, or is it just going to be a condo?
We're proposing a condominium.
No hotel.
No hotel. So what these reports spotlight are several fundamental problems that cannot be fixed and which sent the luxury hotel chains running. Here are just two. The ceiling heights in this building are 7.5 feet in all the rooms. In some places, 6 feet 9 inches. Nobody wants to spend good money for a luxury hotel, an upscale experience, in a 7.5-foot ceiling, 7-foot ceiling room. The second problem is that the floor slabs are not thick enough to provide a 2-hour fire rating, and they can't be fixed to achieve the 2-hour fire rating. So not only is this building a Motel 5, to use the lingo, it's a fire trap. And so to now question the developer and his motives after we've made such significant efforts to save the structure sends the wrong message to the development community, which is just bulldoze the building. Don't even try to work with, with preservation and with the community. We don't think that's the message that the city wants to send. We know that the city wants to encourage developer efforts to preserve buildings, older buildings where possible, and that's why you should approve the development agreement today. And by the way, the $10.5 million was given voluntarily. No promises were made about the design of the project and the property, and no promises were asked for by city or the community.
Jeff, when was the last time this property was operational? Do you know? Does anybody know?
A year ago? It's
I
30
think it'd
days
be
ago.
best served just to stick to the issues that we've raised so far. I don't think opening new doors and starting new discussions is helpful for your
Jeff, I hear
cause.
what you're saying, and I understand it. For me, when we negotiated the deal with Commissioner Tobin and the 10.5, it was based on renovating the hotel and then having a beautiful Renzo piano tower next to it and getting all the FAR and everything else you got. And now that you're making the case very strongly that this hotel needs to be torn down, this is now going to be a full condo project, I'm not saying that I'm totally have to be against it. I'm saying that we need to now renegotiate the deal and have another conversation. I just don't, I think that's a whole other deal now.
We have
Let's call the
less
vote.
units.
Let's call the
We
question.
have
You
less
guys wanna
units.
vote?
I seconded,
I
I
just don't-
seconded, yeah. I seconded Commissioner Wolfson on that one.
You want to open and continue, you want to continue with the next?
No, there's
meeting?
a.
Just vote on it and get over it.
moved.
Yeah. So,
Yes, it's part of it.
is that a roll call?
Just voice vote.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, so
Nay.
Commissioner Tobin is a no,
And the mayor.
and the
No.
mayor is a no. Motion passes. This item only requires a 4 vote.
Okay.
Well, that was 5, anyway. That was 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to get more money.
Well, lunchtime. We gonna do it real quick? Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to commend your position on that. While we may agree to disagree that there's value in the preservation of it, I respect your position, and I think that, I don't disagree that they may have changed somewhere along the way, but I think it's whether or not you put value in the preservation of that building. And
Right.
because you do, I think that your position is a very wise one. If you don't, then you look past some of the dishonesty. And I just had to get this over with.
No, I agree, and I understand your position, and I think we have to look at potentially designating it historic. And that's going
Come
to be the
on,
next move.
you're just,
R7F and
Mayor,
R7G.
wait.
Yep.
By the way, I just wanted to bring up, it got lost in the discussion, but that Commissioner Steinberg was able to successfully negotiate an additional concession that is part of the 87th or 87th Street or
Right.
Terrace improvements
Okay.
that the developer's paying for. He's also going to agree to put in a crosswalk on Collins Avenue at his expense. So that'll be added to the development agreement as well.
Great.
to pay for the paint, huh?
Good job.
And we agree with that.
Thank
Or
you,
you're gonna, and
Commissioner.
you'll pay for any permitting or anything associated with it, because that
They're
could get
paying for all of
expensive.
it, correct. It's all, we agreed with the city attorney.
Will you guys
Mr.
do,
Steinberg.
agree to do to get some sort of a bid on what it would cost to go underground there, to have an between your garage and the beachway, just to get some idea, something informal, a letter or something on what it would cost to get an underground tunnel? Just get a letter, just say yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
I can ask.
Okay,
so
we
just
have
for
to
the
R7F and R7G, Mr. Clerk, before we go to lunch.
Right, just for the record,
Yeah.
Commissioner Steinberg's proposal was accepted by acclamation.
Yes. R7F, R7G, then we're going to break for lunch. Really good.
R7F, adopt Fifth Amendment to